G'day everyone. How you going? It's Doz. Yeah, I just thought I'd do a bit of a quick stream today. I streamed last week and I got a comment. Someone was talking, I think it was Slapstat, and so shout out to him or her. Mentioned that I should do a stream about liquidity providing. So thought I might give it a crack. Hopefully the audio is okay. I'll see if anyone is in the chat. I've got like 3 subscribers or something, so it's probably unlikely. I probably also can go on Twitter and just hit someone up and ask me if the audio is okay, but I'm going to assume it is. My Twitter handle, by the way, is at yngwiewylde, which is like at yngwiewylde. I'm not getting any texts or anything saying the audio is dodgy, so I'll just assume that it is. Yeah, I wanted to do a quick chat about some other things as well. There was a sort of a community-made DApp. I'll see if I can bring it up. This is for Hedron, for the liquidation auctions. So yeah, I haven't really had like a lot of time to check it out, but from first glance, it looks pretty epic. Looks like it's got all of the sort of mintable Hedron, the time, and then the ability to bid. And so it might be like a good way to pick up some T-shares like on the cheap. But yeah, there's a few things like that that's been going on. The other one that I noticed was Crypto Coffee. He did a Medium article, which is just basically like talking about the importance of self-custody of your keys, and like basically using like centralized exchanges as a fiat on an off-ramp, and then storing everything in your MetaMask wallet. Just talks about how you can. It's basically an onboarding tool for people, so you don't have to sort of explain like how to keep your seed phrases safe and all this sort of stuff. It kind of goes into it with pretty great detail. So I thought that was really good. So yeah, shout out to Crypto Coffee. Check him out on Twitter if you haven't already. And I guess speaking of like the importance of that self-custody and keeping your coins on your keys in your own custody and all that sort of stuff, and not relying on centralized exchanges. Obviously, the risk of that is just that, with FTX and things like that, exchanges can go bust. So it's just not worth the risk. If you are going to do that, you need to like make sure you're using a hardware wallet, especially if you're talking about, big stacks and things like that. So it's okay if you're using small amounts to muck around on test nets and things like that. You don't want to necessarily have to have a hardware wallet every time you're playing around on a test net. But yeah, I definitely recommend checking out Jexxa, who's so it's like hexsafe.win. He's got a whole security site, heaps of info on there. It talks about seed phrase migration. There's videos because if you've done stakes like hex stakes that are locked to a wallet, and you don't have a hardware wallet, you can migrate that seed to like a Trezor, and there's like how-to videos and stuff like that. So really important. And obviously he does, you can get the seed vault stuff where you can punch your keys into metal plates and things like that. So that's like a little kit that you can do it. So yeah, that's Jexxa from the Aussie Late Show. It's like Hex, or no, it's called DeFi. I don't know, you know what it is. But yeah, shout out to those boys, Tangent and Blue Bum and 43OG, Sammy Chica. So that's on Tuesday nights on my time. So check that out. Yeah, the thumbnail that I made earlier was using this open AI thing, which I thought was pretty cool. So I thought I'd just quickly talk about that. There's lots of different programs you can use, but I was just mucking around with that open AI chat thing. And then I realized there's this DALL-E thing where you can just put in prompts and then get art out of it effectively. So that's pretty cool. Still no one in the chat. That's cool. I might have to go on Twitter and see if anyone can actually hear me. The other thing is, yeah, that was just like some cool images and shit. But that's where I got that. That's how I made that sort of Moon Man farming in space. So when we're talking about DeFi and we're talking about liquidity providing, it's important to understand some of the terminology. The Binance Academy has got some pretty good articles. I can put them in the links in the description, but it talks about how, describes automatic market makers, how they work. You get this, the constant product formula of when you're adding like pairs to a pool. And it kind of really explains it here about the different fee tiers for different liquidity providers. They earn fees on different tiers. And there's some information on impermanent loss, which is crucial, I guess, if you have to understand the risks of providing liquidity, because if one side of the pair moves against the other side, then you're trying to earn fees and things like that, but you're trading the possibility that you actually would have been better off if you had have held those two coins. So that's what impermanent loss is, and there's probably better explanations for it there. But yeah, when you're trying to earn these fees through LP, you're risking, it's the potential upside of one of those coins just sort of mooning, and it's so you want to choose pairs that sort of track together, so that you don't have one side of the pair run against the other, because that's where you get your impermanent loss. So pairs that might run together, if you think about how Maxi and Hex are kind of locked at a fundamental level. ICOSA and Hex are also kind of locked. They're sort of bound by the T-shares, because if you stake Hex and then you interact with the ICOSA contract, you're effectively putting the T-shares in, and then so that there's like a ceiling price on ICOSA, so that they're all going to kind of be linked. But it is a market, and crazy things can happen in markets. So to say that ICOSA and Hex are always inextricably linked is not true. The market will do whatever the hell it wants. That's the Conor McGregor, the double champ, does whatever the fuck he wants. The market, you can't really control it. It's going to be the whim of these pools, and when people sell into them, it can drastically, undershoot what you think is, that floor price, particularly for ICOSA. So yeah, Maxi Hex, ICOSA Hex, I guess stablecoin pairs. There's quite a few pairs that would have minimal movement with respect to each other, and they're the kind of pools that you might want to consider. Gerardo's got a pretty cool site, lookintohex.com. Talks about the distribution of liquidity on different dexes like Uniswap v2, v3. So that's just like, I think v1 was just ETH pair pools, and then when they upgraded to v2, you could do any pools, but it's a even distribution. So it was only when V3 came out that you could concentrate that liquidity over a price range. So PulseX is, I think, a fork of Uniswap V2. But I suspect when the license thing comes out in April next year, they will implement the Uniswap V3 code. So that'll be really interesting. Yeah, I noticed, because you can also look at the liquidity just on like Dex Screener. Oh, that's trying to be, sorry. On like, yeah, Dex Screener, you can just look at liquidity. Although I noticed here, liquidity was only 6.9 million. This is the Hex USDC pair for V3. And then here it said it was 17 million. So I might even ask Gerardo what that's about, because that confused me. But all of the other, like you can look up, like Hex USDC on V2, and you can see it's got like $643,000, and then you can have a look on here, 643 grand. So yeah, and then it's kind of cool. You can put in, if you had bought, X amount of like, if you bought like $1 million worth of Hex, what would the price be? How much would you move the price? So because this is a dynamic, dashboard of how the liquidity is distributed, you can kind of see at any given time when the liquidity is thin and how much you would actually move the price. But yeah, I am suspect on this 17 million only because of that. Anyway, that's maybe something that I can learn, and I'll probably give you the answer next time. There is ways to provide liquidity on V2. I noticed on the GitHub, there's actually some links for you migrating your V2 liquidity to V3, all this sort of stuff, and just adding V2 liquidity and swapping and things like that. So that's pretty cool if you wanted to do it that way, where you're adding sort of an even amount in the pair. But I still think the V3 is the way to go. This link is really cool. I'll put this in the description. So if you're wondering how to actually add or provide liquidity, this is just like the Uniswap how-to guide on it. So it doesn't get much better than that. And I can run through that as well, but you just pick your pairs, pick the fee tier, set the range, and you just deposit it. And then you can, once you've added the liquidity, you can pull it at a later stage. So that's pretty cool. Maybe, for advanced people who know what they're doing, then like they're probably not even watching this. But for other people, I would probably recommend checking it out on the testnet, Pulse Chain testnet, and playing around on PulseX. So if you go to pulsechain.com, and assuming you've actually set so if you set your network to PulseChain testnet, and if you're wondering how to do that, you just go to, we talked about this last week, adding networks manually, and you just put in the RPC details, chain ID, and then you can go on the testnet and you can play around, and it's like fake money. So it's a good way to get some confidence and play around. Those RPC details are on the GitLab. So on that same pulsechain.com, you just go down until you find this. And this will be how, when it goes live, this will be how you find out the RPC details. Like, I suspect that'll be the fastest way when that gets updated. Still nothing in the chat. That's cool. So one thing is, if people have comments that they want me to check out, things like next time I do a video, please like leave, you know, comments in the description, or come on and have a chat with me, and I can check out some of this stuff and we can sort of learn together. I think that's, you know, really important. I don't think there's any stupid questions. It's just all like, you know, just all learning. So yeah, I was going to say, go to pulsechain.com, check out the PulseX. So you just go to that trading on the testnet. It's pretty awesome, pretty slick. There's a couple of ways to play around with this. We might check out the limit orders another time, but you can just do liquidity pools and then you can farm. So the difference, the way I sort of think about this is like, if you providing liquidity, you are providing two sides of a pair that people can trade in. So rather than a centralized exchange that has like an order book where they have bids and asks, and a whole bunch of dodgy shenanigans that go along with centralized exchanges, a DEX uses, it's like a peer to contract. So interaction. So you're only just using code, and the automatic market maker takes care of it. So I guess it's a form of like a trustless sort of decentralized way where you're actually interacting with different people's wallets, rather than one, you know, centralized pool. So yeah, I don't know why I was talking about that, but with these, oh yeah, that's right. If you're thinking about like liquidity providing, then, you know, you're providing your liquidity so people can exchange tokens from those pools, and then you get a LP token typically. And so once you've got your LP token, that tells you, that sort of just says how much of percentage of that pool that you own, and then you can go and stake those LP tokens and earn yield, and that's the yield farming. So staking your LP tokens for yield, or farming your LP tokens, however you want to call it, like yield farming. The reason why you are making, you know, money from staking your LP tokens is because they're trying to incentivize people to provide liquidity, because of the impermanent loss thing we talked about. People, you know, want to be incentivized to actually provide liquidity in these DEXs. So yeah, apart from the incentivization of just earning fees. So yeah, this is pretty straightforward. That's just your exchange. You want to add liquidity, you just add it. What have I even got in here? This is all fake testnet money, so don't get too excited. But you can add, let's add USDC and PLS. So say I wanted to add $10,000 and the equivalent amount of PLS, because we talked about this as Uniswap v2 fork. So they have to have the same amount on each side of the pair. Oh yeah, hopefully this doesn't take forever. But once you've got your LP tokens from this, you can then stake them. Oh, here we go. So I've supplied it, confirm supply, confirm. You can add it, the LP token if you haven't already. And then, yeah, when you go to like pools, oh, that's the single-sided staking for PulseX. I might talk about that another time. If you go to So your liquidity, it should show up now. The pools that you've provided liquidity for. I had already just mucked around with some PLSX to PLS on this wallet. And then, but yeah, if you wanted to farm the LP tokens, you just go to like the USDC PLS farm. Oh, that was the previous one. And then you just enable the farm. And then once that's been submitted, you can effectively stake your, well, you can stake your LP. So yeah, once you've staked it, there you go, stake, do it, maximum. Contract enabled. That's all done. So once you've done that, you can harvest your yield that you've been farming in the form of incentive tokens. And then, you know, this is 21st century farming. 21st? Yeah. So, and you don't even have to get your hands dirty. So yeah, you can just harvest it, and then I'm a dad, so I'm allowed to make dad jokes. Yeah, you just harvest it, and then you get some incentive token. It's pretty cool. I really like this testnet. I think I encourage everyone to play around with it. What else? Oh yeah, so if we went back to doing this with, like, you know, real dollars, and we put it back onto like Ethereum, and then go to like Uniswap, and you can go pools, new position. This is probably what like people were actually interested in. But yeah, you can read this. You can read that how-to thing. It explains it all. But yeah, just in terms of like a walkthrough, I guess, you just go like USDC, for example, and let's go Hex. The 0.3% fee tier is probably the most common. And then if you put like $100 in, you're setting your range that you're providing the liquidity for. So you only earn fees when the price, which is this middle line here, when that price is within your range. So the more concentrated the range, you get like a concentration multiplier, and you earn more fees. But if the price goes outside of that range, then you get 100% of one side of the pair. And the reciprocal, you know, if you go on the other side, if your price goes on this side, you get 100% of the other side of the pair. So because we're talking about USD and Hex, if it went outside this range, so yeah, if you can swap the way that the pair is so like the ratio. So for example, if you went, this is 2.3 cents to 4.4 cents, if you provided it there, if the price went below 2.3 cents, you've just bought 100% of this amount of liquidity, like $200 worth. You've bought $200 worth of X when the price goes outside on this side. Likewise, when it goes out, the price goes outside of your range on this side, you've just sold all of your Hex. So you've sold $100 worth of Hex and you end up with $200. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, because you're selling it and buying it at each point along here. So yeah, that's, I think, a pretty good explanation of it. And then what else? Oh, so this is meant to be, it's saying I don't have enough funds because I was just saying, yeah, there you go. Okay, whatever. So if it was like $100 worth of hex, then yeah, and you could set it. So the other thing that's interesting about this is when you do this and you provide liquidity, there is zero slippage in the buy and the sell. So when you buy and sell on market, like if you go, Matcha or whatever, and if you were to buy, like, whatever it is, $1,000 worth of hex or $1 million worth of hex, it would tell you that you would eat 6% in slippage. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. So because as you're buying it, the price of it is actually going up. So to minimize that slippage, and it works in the same way when you're selling it as well. Whatever it is, when you do it this way, it'll only buy and sell when the price reaches that target that you've got. So there is no slippage. So it's a good way for large bags to, exit or to buy if you really want to try to minimize that slippage. I guess that's all it is. All right, cool. I don't know how long I've been streaming for, but I feel like I don't want to make it too long because people get bored. Let's see if I can put this back. So yeah, thanks very much, everyone, for supporting me. Just trying to provide some content, particularly when people aren't able to stream at the moment for various reasons. So it's just yeah, trying to make it fun. If you guys have got any things you want me to check out next time, please leave comments and things like that. And then check me out on Twitter. And yeah, I hope that was useful. Cheers, guys. Thanks very much.